Greetings, everyone, and good evening, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing. And if this is your first visit, or if you are a regular visitor to the wing, glad that you are here tonight. And as I said, if this is your first time, glad you're here. And if you're looking for a space where we talk about pop culture, modern, retro, this is the place for you. And tonight we're going to be digging into Mortal Kombat! Sorry, my throat's a little froggy. Can't give my very best to Mortal Kombat shout. But tonight I'm going to bring y'all my review of the new release of Mortal Kombat. And we're also going to be doing something a little bit different. Because for those of you that know, I am a huge, and I mean huge fan of the original 1995 Mortal Kombat movie. And most of you who know me, who are here regularly, know that I try to, when I do reviews of movies like this, new movies, old movies, or whatever the case, I try to come at it from a fairly positive perspective, and I am for the most part here. But I'm going to give you all my fair and honest opinion of the new Mortal Kombat 2021. There is good within this movie, but it's buried under some painful dialogue, let's put it that way, and some painful decisions in terms of the story. So this isn't going to be me bashing on the new Mortal Kombat for an hour and a half or 2 hours or however long this review goes for. But what I am going to do is I'm going to give you all my fair and honest opinion on it. So, and to the chat, Big Daddy O John Bamford. John, it is good to see you, man, and glad that you're in the chat. Always a pleasure to have you here, and thanks for tuning in tonight. So greatly appreciate it, as always. And as usual, if you would be so kind, make sure you hit that like button and share this out with your friends. And if this is your first time and you enjoy the stream, consider hitting that subscribe button. So, and also to the chat, games, movies, and comics are us, but it is good to see you. Mortal Kombat! Cue the music. Yes, indeed, cue the music. John, it's okay, man. It is completely all right. No harm done, no offense taken whatsoever. So do not beat yourself up by any means. Anything. We are all human. We all make mistakes. And unfortunately, that being the case, some mistakes were made in the direction they went with this version of Mortal Kombat. But I want to kind of focus on what was good within the new Mortal Kombat, and then we'll kind of transition over to what I didn't particularly care for, and we'll ask the question, as the thumbnail indicated, which was better, Mortal Kombat 1995 or Mortal Kombat 2021? And I watched this the other night on HBOMax, and I might still go see this on IMAX just to have the experience and, to kind of help my local theater get back on their feet because, as a lot of you know, theaters are starting to reopen across the nation. And the state I'm in Indiana, theaters are open. And I just kind of want to help support my local theater because it's what I do. I try to help out everybody I can as much as I can. You all know this if you're a regular visitor here, and you follow me on social media and so on. But in terms of now, I will say a couple of things. I did watch the first 7 minutes that HBO or Warner Brothers dropped on YouTube back last week, and I won't lie to you all. The first 7 minutes, I was completely in. Now, it didn't necessarily spoil my enjoyment of the film, just for the simple fact that it was just 7 minutes. It was the opening sequence of the film. So it didn't bother me watching that portion of the movie. So, and to the chat, Sir Nerdlot, it is good to see you, man. Always a pleasure to have you in the chat. Hey Nerdlot, I don't know if this would be your sort of thing if you'd want to join me for, but if you would like to, if you're free, um, drop me a line, drop me a comment, and I can drop you the link, man. So, but either way, good to see you in the chat, for my friend, as always. But in terms of the movie, the opening sequence I thought was really solid. It was a really good sequence. It built the world that we were about to enter into. It did set the rivalry between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I did like that part. John, it's okay, man. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Hey, I'm used to your costumes at this point, so you're good, man. You're totally good, truly. But, it set the stakes, it set the world, and it really gave you a sense of just how brutal and how graphic the violence was going to be in this adaptation of Mortal Kombat. For the simple fact that the one we got in 1995, it did have some brutality to it, but it was kind of toned down. This had a hard R rating to it, so they were really able to go for the more brutal and vicious combat style and the fatalities and so on that have been such a hallmark of the Mortal Kombat franchise in terms of the video games especially. But the one misstep that I really felt they took, and I'm not saying I did not like the character of Cole Young in this movie. He's not a bad character, and his motivations and his relationship with his family was relatable and believable, but it felt out of place in a movie like this, to be honest with you. Now, the thing I will say is, if it had been me that was writing this script or writing this story, I wouldn't have had Cole Young in there. And I wouldn't have necessarily maybe had him have a family. And this is something I talked with a friend online or anything a couple of nights ago. Nerdlot, you're welcome, man. Anytime. And there'll be next time. You know this. So. But the thing I probably would have done was, instead of having Cole Young be the ancestor, and just so you all know, this will have spoilers and everything. This will be a spoiler review, so just put that in the back of your mind. If you don't want to know anymore, if you haven't seen the movie, bounce out now and go watch it or whatever. So, and to the chat, Chan Thorpe, Chan, good to see you. And hey, like I said a few minutes ago before you came in, I'm going to give you my honest opinion of this, good, bad, and everything in between. So, but the thing I would have done, instead of having the character of Cole Young in this movie, now again, I didn't hate the character. I just felt the character was out of place in a story like this. And particularly the fact that he has a family. I think also that particular dynamic was kind of out of place. Now, I know they were trying to parallel the character of Cole Young with the character of Scorpion, or as he was known as Hanzo Hashashi. And forgive me if I get some of the pronunciations if I don't get the pronunciations perfectly. Forgive me for that. I'm not often. I am sometimes good with foreign names, but they're not my strong suit all the time. And also to the chat, Neon Sci-Fi. Neon, good to see you. Doing well. Just getting started on my review of Mortal Kombat 2021. But getting back on track here. The thing for me is I wouldn't have had Cole Young. I've said that several times now. I would have had perhaps another character, a known character from the Mortal Kombat universe. I perhaps, if it had been me, and this is me just me talking, I would have had maybe Liu Kang or perhaps Kung Lao, or maybe even if they wanted to go with a person of another ethnicity, be a descendant of Hanzo Hashashi or Scorpion. I may just refer to him by his other name, Scorpion, rather than his the name they give at the beginning of the movie. I perhaps would have maybe had Johnny Cage and have Johnny Cage be brought into this, into the story that way. That way, you had two very well-known and iconic characters that were linked to one another. Now, yeah, Johnny's attitude and his persona in the game and in the movie that we do have him in, he's somewhat more cocky and a little more arrogant and everything. Obviously, he's an action star in Hollywood, but I think you could take that dynamic and maybe turn it to where he starts to take his ancestry, his connection to this very noble, or what we perceive as noble, I want to say ninja. I want to say Scorpion was, and he was trained in ninjutsu and everything. He doesn't come off as samurai. Now, I could be wrong on that, but the way that he uses his sword and the way he uses that improvised, I think, and I hope I'm getting the name of this weapon correct, the kunai and chain, the improvised kunai and chain that he uses, the gardening trowel and a piece of rope to create that kunai and chain. And I'll say it, the fight choreography at the beginning of the movie was incredible. I loved that sequence from start to finish. It had such brutality and such impact to it. You felt every blow. You felt the slices of the swords, and when Scorpion was using his kunai and chain. And I absolutely loved that sequence. And Nerd a lot. I love the backstory for Scorpion Sub-Zero. I actually like a prequel about that feud. Nerdlot, I know there has been, I think, an animated film that was done on that story specifically. And also, I know that there is, I think there's a video game within the Mortal Kombat series or something that also kind of fleshes out that storyline as well. And Big John's comment here. Ambassador Wing. Yeah, that's one thing I didn't get. Why bring a new unknown character? It's like they're trying to push some character in, force us to like him a lot of these companies do. And I do get the reference, John. So, yeah. Again, I know I've said this a couple times already, but I didn't dislike Cole Young. I just felt he didn't fit in this world, and they tried to shoehorn him in. Yeah, and Chan Thorpe probably gonna be featured in future games. So, yeah, that's a distinct possibility. So we'll just have to wait and see. Now, I will say, in terms of Cole's arcana, his ability or whatever, I thought it was actually kind of cool. I'm not going to lie to you all. I like the design of the armor. I like the design of the two fighting blades that he could manifest and everything and use to attack. I thought he actually worked very well with those. I thought those suited his fighting style very, very well. So, as a cameo, remember Mark. Chan, that actually would have been kind of cool if they had. I won't lie. Yeah, and I do know that reference. I've seen cutscenes and so on from Mortal Kombat versus DC. So yeah, I could totally see. I could totally see them dropping a Darkseid cameo in there. But in terms of Cole's story within the movie, I understand what they were trying to do, parallel him fighting to protect his family, not to mention fighting to protect Earthrealm, kind of like what his ancestor Scorpion had done, but unfortunately he had failed. Now, the other thing I will say, the other thing I will say, this didn't feel like the Mortal Kombat that I had seen in '95. Obviously, it isn't. Um, yeah, Nerdlot. I would agree. I would agree with that as well. Yeah, I liked how his power came out as being protective of his family. Yeah, I think that was a nice little touch that they did there. I'll bring up John's comment here. Come on, Ambassador Wing. There's also a TV show which I highly recommend, Mortal Kombat Conquest, which gives a little bit of their backstory. Sadly, the show was canceled. I don't recall if I ever watched that one, John, to be honest with you, but I may try and dig around for it. I'm sure it's on a streaming service or something somewhere. So, but yeah, the thing for me was this felt more like an action adventure story, which the original Mortal Kombat in essence was. But you had the tournament. You had the tournament to decide the fate of Earthrealm. In this one, you don't get that tournament, and I think that was something that was very sorely lacking to keep the story focused and on track. Because I'll be candid with you all. I had a bit of a rough time in the second act of the movie trying to get through it. The first act, for the most part, I got through and I enjoyed it very much. The second act really lagged, and I know this movie is just a shade under 2 hours, but the second act just lagged so bad, and it felt honestly kind of disjointed in a lot of ways. Now, the third act, where the champions of Earth go on the offensive against Shang Tsung and his warriors, that is where the movie picked back up from me. So, yeah, he'll be in Mortal Kombat 2, The Quest for More Money. Yeah, I get that reference. Nice one, man. Very nice. But honestly, the big thing for me is I wanted to like these characters, and for the most part, I did. But for those of you that have watched it, you'll probably know the next thing I'm going to say is the dialogue was just. I very rarely ever say this about a movie, but the dialogue was bad. It was. I mean, some of the little catchphrases that they threw in from the games just didn't work. And Chanthorpe, I'll bring your comment up here. Might be the first film not making too much money. They probably wanted to get maximum views, not confident on the script. Yeah, Chan, that is a very distinct possibility, bud. So, but this is one of the few rare times when I've watched a movie. Well, there's one of the time, and I think most of you know because I reviewed it a couple of years ago. I'm not going to go there though. But the script for this movie, it was lacking something, and I don't know if it was they were trying to do a little too much fan service or what have you, but I didn't care. Some of the them playing some of the catchphrases in from the game. Okay, the one in particular that really bothered me was when Kung Lao, when they were training, says, "It's time to test your might," and I'm like, no. You just dropped a massive roadblock on your script and the flow of the story. It didn't work. Now I will say some of the other, I will say that was my main criticism of the callbacks from the games was when Kung Lao said it's time to test your might. That was the one that I really didn't feel fit very well. As for the others, when Kung Lao and everything uses his metal hat to split that one winged female creature in half, and he says flawless victory. Now that fit. That did they placed that appropriately, and I dug that. I did dig that little callback to the games. That for me worked. Now, I will say in terms of the characters were good, but again, they just seemed to lack something. Because I remember watching the original movie, and I don't generally try to do this, or rather, I don't generally do this, but I'm thinking to myself, this was good, but the first one did it somewhat better. Now, I will tell you all, most of you know, I did a review back in early March for the original Mortal Kombat, kind of in preparation for this one being announced, and not to mention it was on Mother Ambassador's birthday, and it's one of her favorite movies. But I caught myself a few times saying, okay, this character was good, but their other version in the 95 version was better. And to the chat, Sven, the naked Nordic ninja, and Geeks Enjoyed Nerdrotica. Gentlemen, good to see you both. And always a pleasure to have you in the chat. So thank you for being here this evening. And Neon Sci-Fi, I'll pop your comment up here. I'm pretty sure they cut 30 minutes out. Not sure if it's a fight scene or not, but yeah, this movie is more of a prequel to the tournament. Yeah. The thing is, though, for those of you that have seen the movie, and for those of you that are coming in late, this review will have spoilers. So just a heads up. Maybe I should put that in the banner. Give me 2 seconds, guys, while I do that. Okay, come on, work with me here. All right, hide these for a minute. Spoilers. And show. All right, there we go. But yeah, honestly, some of the okay. I'm not saying that the entire cast stunk. It didn't. I thought the woman that they had to play Sonya Blade, she did a very good job. I would actually say I think she did a better job than the woman who was in the original Mortal Kombat did, because she could actually do some more complex fighting scenes than the other woman could. Now, I know a lot of people have said this, and I will agree with this sentiment. I thought Kano was awesome in this movie. I would say he was just as good as the original Kano, maybe a little bit better, but both Kanos were good. Now, obviously, Kung Lao was not in the original one, but I liked Kung Lao. He didn't really take me out of the film per se. He did a good job. I'll say that much. And of course, his one big scene where he, like I say, he cuts the one warrior in half with his hat. It was beautiful. I'm not gonna lie. That was one of my favorite scenes when he gets done and he kicks his hat back up and puts it on his head and says fatality. And I'm like, ooh, I got a chill just a little bit. The leg sweep scene had me rolling. Yeah. When Liu Kang is training with Kano, he's like, "Are you just going to keep doing that?" He's like, "Because we are. I'm just going to like kick your ass or whatever." I can't remember exactly what Kano said, but something to that effect. But now I will say the actor who played Liu Kang, I felt he was a little stiff. He was a little wooden, whereas the one in the '95 version, he had a little more personality. Now that could just be because this version of Liu Kang had been training with Raiden for all these years and so on, and he just kind of maybe lacked a little bit of the emotional depth that the other version did. But I'm not saying I completely dislike this Liu Kang. Now I will say for the fight scenes that he was involved in, particularly with Cabal, he kicked ass. In many ways, this Liu Kang kicked ass just as much as his predecessor did. I'll bring up Chan Thorpe's comment here. I wonder why this wasn't better. So many Jean-Claude Van Damme films they could use to learn from. Yeah, Chan Thorpe. I know exactly what you're saying. Although I will tell you all, I am a huge fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme's, particularly his earlier stuff. One of my all-time favorites of his is Bloodsport. I love that movie. I do. I love it to death. I know it's cheesy. I know it's low budget. And I know his English wasn't particularly good. But he kicked ass in that movie. Full stop. And I'll bring up John's comment here. Neon Sci-Fi, the Mortal Kombat Legacy web series was good. And yeah, I'd like the updated versions and effects, but I thought it was a little too modern and short for my taste. I generally prefer the classic stuff, but yeah, both good. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I'll put his comment up here. I like Jean-Claude in the '90s, but '80s it's too absurd. That's fair. Oh, and he's like, I like the Twins movie. Yeah, I think I can't remember what the name of that movie is. Double Impact or something like that. I think was the name of that movie. Something like that. But anyway, but yeah. Now the one I will say, comparing the original Shang Tsung, I'm gonna have to go with the original, just for the simple fact that the original was a lot more involved in the story. And not just from a standpoint of running the tournament and so on, but he felt a lot more imposing, and he didn't need a whole lot of extra special effects to make him imposing. The actor who played the original Shang Tsung did a really good job of delivering that oomph. I think they rely now. I think they're relying just a little too much on audio effects and digital effects to really beef up this version of Shang Tsung for the newer move for the new movie. But anything, and I'm not saying he didn't look the part. He did. And when he took Liu Kang's soul, not Liu Kang, but Kung Lao's soul, I'm not saying that sequence wasn't cool. But I think the actor who played the original Shang Tsung, and I'm not going to try and pronounce his name because I don't want to butcher it. But if you've seen the original Mortal Kombat, you know who I'm talking about. I think he really delivered that imposing presence that a sorcerer that has lived for thousands of years could bring to a space. And it just it took me out of it. And I'll say this, I hate to say this because I love the character of Raiden, both from the original movie and from the games, because he's a cool character. But this Raiden, yeah, they were able to do more with the special effects because the digital effects that they have now are better than what they had in 1995, obviously. But, and some people may say I'm whitewashing in terms of my opinion here, but I liked Christopher Lambert as Raiden better than I liked this Raiden. This Raiden, I don't know what it is specifically about this Raiden that I did not care for, but he just didn't have that. He could shoot lightning and he could transport, but he had no charisma. He had no imposing presence in a space, except for maybe when him and Shang Tsung were button heads. But this didn't feel like the guardian of Earthrealm. This felt like a guy that was just grumpy that somebody had come into his backyard. I'm like, this doesn't feel like Raiden. I mean, his costume design was absolutely cool. Now, something I will say, the costume design for this movie was, I felt, really good. I mean, like, really, really good. But in terms of his performance, it just, maybe I'm just a little jaded. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just a little more partial to the original. I don't know. But Christopher Lambert as Raiden, he brought an imposing presence. He also brought some humor, and he also brought some. He brought the kind of unspeakable quality to his performance as Raiden. And the gentleman that played Raiden in this movie, just for me, and Nerdla, I do see your comment there. I thought this one felt more mystical. You could look at it that way, and I'm not going to say that your opinion is invalid and everything. If that's how you felt about it, okay, cool. I felt like this Raiden wasn't as... He didn't feel like the guardian of Earthrealm. He felt like just another fighter and someone who is an elder god. And I know that they say, well, the elder gods aren't allowed to really get involved in anything, but yet he kind of does in an underhanded sort of way, granted. But he didn't feel like someone that I would necessarily be intimidated by, per se. I mean, if I'm staying in the presence of the god of thunder and lightning and the protector of the realm of Earth, I should feel some sort of intimidation. But I'm gonna say it. Even though they do a really good job with the lightning effect on his eyes, it didn't do anything for me. Now, if you all disagree, okay, that's cool. I'm not here to crap on your parade. Far from it. Yes. Let me. Oh. Yes. Kerry Hirakayu Tagawa from the original Shang Tsung was the best. And I hope I at least got the gentleman's middle name partially correct. Answering her like, you're a good man. I try to be. So I'll bring up John's comment here as well. Ambassador Orion, I agree that the original lacked in effects and brutality. It may have with great actors, which is why even though it's a bad film, it's so beloved and remembered. Also better music. I'm not necessarily going to say that the music in this version, the new version, was bad. It wasn't terrible, but it isn't quite... Now, I will say I did like what they did with the closing credits, where they did a bit of a remix on the original score or main theme from the first Mortal Kombat movie. I did like that callback. That, for me, was actually really good. It did sound really good. It did bring back that feeling that I had and everything when I saw... when me and Mother Ambassador saw the original Mortal Kombat back in '95 and all. And I did very much enjoy that fact. So, but the thing for me, and I'll kind of go into a little bit more of the movie here. And there's been other people who have made this comment as well, and I think this is something I'm going to that I have to agree with, is that the fight choreography, it could have been better. So, and to the chat, Saggy Melons. Hey, Saggy, you don't always have to stop by to drop a like. If you ever want to join me, I can send you a link, but I appreciate you popping by anyway, young lady. And always good to see you. So thank you for being here. And hope you can stick around for a few minutes and listen to me ramble about Mortal Kombat. So, but in terms of the fight choreography for this movie compared to the original, again, it wasn't bad, but it could have been polished up. It could have been a lot better, I think. The one criticism I will say, in terms of one particular fight's choreography, was the fight between Cole Young and Goro. And I'll get into Goro here in a few minutes. It didn't feel like Cole was actually fighting anything. It felt like he was. Now, I don't know if maybe they did have a mocap performer there with the actor playing Cole Young, but it just didn't feel organic. There didn't feel to be any type of flow through, or just a smooth flow to a fight. It is often said of martial arts movies that a fight, in some ways, should resemble a dance. And in this case, none of these fights felt like a dance per se. They all felt somewhat clunky and not very well choreographed. Whereas in the original movie, even though not all of the actors or actresses were trained martial artists, they tried to craft the different fight scenes to what the actors or actresses could do. And it worked. In this movie, I have the impression that a lot of these actors and actresses could fight, but that the choreography was it was off. There wasn't a really good feel to it. Now, the one fight I will say that went off very well was, of course, at the end of the film when Cole and Scorpion are fighting against Sub-Zero. That fight scene was spot on. It had good flow, it had good tempo, it had good stakes, and it all culminated very nicely. It had a nice balance and beat and rhythm to it, if that makes any sense. I mean, for those of you who know, I am a fan of martial arts movies and everything, as I've kind of mentioned already. One of my all-time favorite martial arts movies is, in fact, Enter the Dragon, for heaven's sake. And those are some of the best choreographed fights ever done. Of course, it's Master Bruce Lee. So you wouldn't expect any less, but the very best from him. And I say that with all sincerity and respect to the late Master Lee. No mockery whatsoever. But these fights, like I say, except for the opening sequence between Scorpion and Sub-Zero, before they turn into Scorpion and Sub-Zero, the fight at the end between Scorpion, Sub-Zero, and Cole, those two fights were very well choreographed, had good flow, and you could tell everybody knew what the heck they were doing. And that one was very well done. And John, thank you for bringing that up, because I do want to get to the issue of Goro and Best Story. The original Goro puppet was fantastic. Sure, it looked a little weird by now, by today's standards, but at least it felt real, intimidating. That's why I don't like CGI. It lacks the real feel. Yes, John, I will agree with you. Now, I will say the design of Goro wasn't bad. I would actually say it was pretty darn good. The design itself was good. But and here's the amazing thing, I actually found like a month or so ago a video of how they did the effects, how they did the puppetry for the original Goro. And I might have even mentioned this when I did my review of Mortal Kombat back in March. But what they did was they had an actor, or a stunt person most likely, who was made up in foam latex from the legs up to the waist or something like that, or up to his arms. And then the upper body and the other two arms of Goro were mounted down onto him. Now, I will say it, even though it's a puppet, it's a damn good looking puppet. And he had weight, he was intimidating, and you felt like you were probably getting the ever loving crap beaten out of you by this puppet and this guy that was mounted to. So, and I'll bring up John's comment here. There can be only one. Nice. Raiden. Christopher Lambert was awesome. But I'd say this new Raiden was okay. It was more accurate to canon and the region, but who doesn't love Mr. Lambert? Yes. And John, I will agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Again, I didn't dislike this actor who played the new Raiden by any means. I didn't. He just didn't, for me, deliver in performance. Anything, and I don't know what other movies he has done in the past or anything to really look back and see what his acting chops are like or anything. If he's done better performances, and it's quite possible he does. Now, I will say there was a little bit of a glimmer of the Raiden that I remember after Sub-Zero is defeated, and Raiden does deliver that one clip when Shang Tsung, and again, it says down here, spoilers, when Shang Tsung says, next time I will not return with fighters, next time I will return with armies, and Raiden just blasts him with a big bolt of lightning and says, he always talks too much. Now that sounded like something the Raiden that I know would say. Kind of like at the end of the very first Mortal Kombat, when you see that big spirit version of Shao Kahn come busting through the temple and say, "You weak, pathetic fools! I've come for your souls." And Raiden's eyes lightening up, and he's like, "I don't think so." Now, those two right there, with what the new Raiden said, that felt like the Raiden just for a moment that I remembered from the first movie. And that felt like something that Raiden would say. He always does talk too much. And now I will say it. If in the next movie, and for those of you that are aware, there is going to be another movie. And I think there's actually supposed to be like 2 or 3 movies, so maybe this is one of those movie series that has a rough start, but it gets better. Yeah, and to the chat, Tim Possible. Tim, good to see you, bud, and good to see you back on social media. Glad you're active again. Hope you're doing well. The new one, the epic scene where was between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. Yes. Yeah, Tim, I was actually I was discussing that just a little bit ago, and Tim, always a pleasure to see you in the chat. So, excuse me. But yeah, honestly, the actors that played. Okay, I'll pop John's comment up here, and then I'll get back to mine. I would have loved if they brought back some of the original cast as cameos. I mean, why couldn't they get Kerry Tagawa to play Old Man Shang Tsung and then de-age him and use a stunt double? Um, they could have done that, John, but it could be that he just doesn't have it in him. I mean, I'm not sure how old Cary Tagawa is now, but he may not have it in him to do something like that anymore. So, but these as well, people get old. I mean, remember, he wasn't exactly young in the '95 Mortal Kombat, but he wasn't exactly old either. But consider it's 2021 now, might have just been a little too much for him. But the thing I was going to say about Goro to kind of get back to where I was, the CGI Goro looked good and so on, but just when Cole was fighting him, it felt like he was punching air or he was punching some sort of foam dummy or something. I don't know, but that particular fight just didn't look it just didn't flow well. And honestly, I think they kind of underutilized Goro because if you consider in the first Mortal Kombat, Goro is a central character, just like Shang Tsung is. I mean, all of the main characters are central to the story, and they face off against one another. And the fact that you have Cole, who, again, he just doesn't fit in this movie. It's not a terrible character, but it just feels like they took a character from a different franchise or from a different movie and plunked him right smack dab in the middle of Mortal Kombat. And it doesn't work. And like I mentioned before, maybe they should have just had Johnny Cage be the descendant of Scorpion. But you all know me when it comes to my reviews. Yeah, Tim, I'll agree with that. I'll bring Tim's comment up here. Tim needed more of an arc, or Cole needed more of an arc. Yeah, he also kind of did. I mean, the dynamic he has with his wife and his daughter is good. No, don't misunderstand me. The family dynamic does feel organic. It does feel real. But it just the rest of his journey just doesn't seem to fit into the universe of Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat isn't necessarily about the family dynamic. It's about people being the ever-living crap out of each other trying to protect their home. Now, I know it adds a little more to the stakes, and I know what kind of getting into the plot of the movie here. I understand what they were trying to do, paralleling Scorpion's family with Cole's family and so on. But with Scorpion, it felt right. With Cole, it just didn't work. And to the chat, Mr. Zach Leary. Zach, it is good to see you. Just giving my breakdown of the new Mortal Kombat and doing some paralleling between it and the 95 version. So thank you for tuning in tonight. Appreciate it as always, man. But, there are certain plot elements that belong in certain types of movies. And this whole idea of a family dynamic in a Mortal Kombat movie just doesn't seem to fit this type of universe. I mean, we all here more or less know what the Mortal Kombat universe is. It's one group of fighters fighting against another group of fighters to protect the realm of Earth or Earth realm or just plain old the Earth, period. And, okay, I will parallel this with another favorite movie of mine that I might do a review of somewhere down the road. And that is the movie Twister. Now, I love the movie Twister with the late Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt and all of them. But there was one particular part of that movie that just didn't fit. And that was the whole love triangle element with Billy and his fiancee and him, the two of them going to meet his former um his former wife. So, and I'll pop up Zach's comment and I'll get back on track here. For a video game movie, I thought it was pretty good. It's a popcorn film like Zilla versus Kong. Yeah, Zach, I won't necessarily say I disagree with that sentiment. Um, so yeah, it is intended as a popcorn movie, and for that purpose, it does that. It does fulfill that. It does fulfill that particular genre well. But with a history like this franchise has, you would think they would have done a little bit better to craft a better story, or at least streamline the story. So, but getting back to my point. In Twister, there is a subplot where Billy and his fiance go storm chasing with his ex-wife and her and the team of storm chasers, and that's one particular part of the movie that I always felt was shoehorned in to have a romantic subplot in a disaster movie. No, Zach, give me just a second, bud, and I'll send you that link. Give me 2 seconds. Be more than happy to have you on, bud. So, I'll send this to your Twitter. Of course, that's the main way we're keeping in contact, but just so you know where I'm sending it. So, but yeah, honestly, guys, I felt like the whole subplot of Cole having a family and him dealing with having to protect his family, it just didn't fit in this universe particularly well. So, and I'm glad that they finally resolved it. Work with me here. Stepping cuss. There we go. There you are. Oh boy. Okay. And paste. And come on. There we go. Okay, Zach, the link is in your DMs on Twitter. So. And to the chat, the J Man, good to see you. And yeah, I am. And everybody, J Man is a recent acquaintance. I was actually on his channel a couple of weeks ago. We spent like 2 or 3 hours talking about all sorts of crazy stuff, and I'll try and do it here in a little bit, or I think I've done a shout out for J Man and everything on my Twitter. But go check his channel out. He's a very knowledgeable comic book guy, particularly when it comes to Marvel and particularly to X-Men. So if you're looking for a channel that really knows their stuff when it comes to comic book lore, J-Man's a good channel to check out, and I highly, 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 highly recommend him. So, and I'll get back up here to John's comment. Hold on. Ambassador, you're probably right. He's 71 this September, but I don't know. He seems to he's still acting according to his IMDb. Chances they wanted to distance themselves from the original disaster. I wouldn't say that the original was a disaster by any stretch. From what I recall, the original was very well received. It was the sequel that crapped out. Unfortunately, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, that was the one that stunk. The original, I think, was fairly profitable for New Line Cinemas. It's also possible he turned it down as some actors don't want to revisit roles that they've already done and want to do something new, but doubt as if he's played the character 3 times. I wasn't aware of that. So thanks for bringing that up, John. Appreciate it. So, yeah, J-Man, say same here, and you're very very welcome. So, and folks, if you type it into your search on YouTube and everything, just type in the J-Man, it'll take you straight to his channel. And like I said, check him out, particularly if you're a comic book geek like me. And check out some of his stuff. If you like it, subscribe to him. He's worth your time. And the same can be said for the fellow that's going to be coming in here in a few minutes or anything. That's Zach Leary. Zach also has a YouTube channel. He also has a podcast. And I'm still trying to find how I can listen to his podcast, because he does have stuff on his channel, and it's good. It's good content. So, but getting back to Mortal Kombat. The issue with Cole's plot line of having a family and so on, just like I said with Twister and the romantic the love triangles plot line, it just doesn't fit. It can fit in a disaster movie, but in this case, it felt shoehorned in. And I would say the same is true for what they did with Cole and his family for Mortal Kombat. It felt shoehorned in. It didn't feel like it fit in a story like this, where you've got people with crazy abilities and so on kicking every living crap out of each other. And speak of the devil, even though he is not a devil, here is Mr. Zach Leary. Zach, good to see you, bud.
Hey, good to be here, man. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, I know it's been a few weeks or anything, but glad to have you on. So,
hey, my pleasure.
Your thoughts on Mortal Kombat? I'm assuming you did get a chance to see it.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I like it. It's somewhat reminiscent of, but I think a higher quality film. But it is reminiscent of the Warcraft film. Did you ever see that?
I wanted to, but I never have gotten a chance to sit down and watch it. So I've heard some people say it's good, some people say it stings, some people say it's eh. I'm not.
The CGI was a problem with it. That was mainly the problem with that film, was the CGI. But listen, man, I liked it. I didn't have to do a lot of thinking during the Mortal Kombat film. It was fun. I liked the gruesome violence. I enjoyed it.
Now, don't misunderstand me. Am I saying it's a horrible film? Did I regret watching it? No, I did not regret it. Do I have some criticisms of it? Yes, and I may be being a little more critical than I normally am of films. But this is one of the times when I have a frame of reference to kind of go back to in terms of a previous installment for a series of a movie. And I didn't hate this Mortal Kombat. I did enjoy it. It was like, as I mentioned before, the second act kind of lagged for me.
Sure.
And
yeah,
I'm not saying they didn't try their hardest to make a good movie. They most likely did, but there were just certain elements in the movie that just didn't feel like they fit to the universe. And the main one for me, and I don't want to harp on it, the main one for me is, of course, the whole issue with Cole and his family being a plot line in this story. Aside from that, the other parts of the movie, anything, the dynamic of Kano with the rest of the group and him turning villain or changing sides, I had a feeling that might happen, but I wasn't 100% for sure because I know that Kano in the Mortal Kombat universe, he is a villain. He's not. He's not he's not a protagonist. So,
Well, so
oh,
I would hit you with this. I
mm-hmm.
am, I think, without question, not as big a fan as you are of the Mortal Kombat universe,
Yeah.
which I'm sure is a big factor, and probably is a reason why you liked the film less than I did, right?
If you're talking about this one, the new one,
Yeah, exactly.
um, if I was to score this film, I would give it my like a 7.5, somewhere along in there. It's
That's
not
pretty good.
horrible. It's not horrible, but there are bits and pieces that like I said, took me out of it that I felt were lacking or just didn't fit. So not horrible, for the most part, enjoyable, but and I can't say that I regretted watching it. Would I watch it again? Yeah, like I mentioned when I started, I may go see this in IMAX or anything, and also because I want to support my local theater because the theaters where I live are opening, and I have a pretty good guess that it is going to be showing in IMAX, and I wouldn't mind seeing this in IMAX. So
Sure.
anyway,
Well, do you think that this film was fan servicey? So there were references and stuff that I think I
mm-hmm.
didn't really key into.
There was some fan service. It wasn't fan service heavy, but it had just enough for those of us who had either seen the original movie or had played the games that we would pick up on it and we would appreciate it. And as I mentioned, when it came to like the dialogue, the one piece of dialogue that I felt this didn't land right was when Kung Lao said, "It is," and I may not be quoting it like, word for word, but when he says it's time to test your might, that just that felt just a little bit forced in. I don't know, maybe it was the actor's delivery of it, or maybe it was just the placement of it. It didn't work. So
Well, how did you feel about the dialogue in the film?
the dialogue overall, it wasn't bad. It wasn't by any means bad. The I would say that the exposition was better than maybe some of the dialogue amongst the characters and so on. I would say the one character's dialogue that really shined for me, at least, or the characters I would say shined for me, was of course Shang Tsung and definitely, I mean definitely Kano. Um, I will say that the dialogue for Scorpion and Sub Zero also, while minimal, it was good. And I do like the fact that there was a language barrier, particularly between um, one character, that being Sub Zero, who is Chinese, and of course Scorpion being Japanese. But the fact that Sub Zero was bilingual in terms that he could speak Japanese and Chinese. I did appreciate that dynamic, and I did like that depth that they put into the dialogue for those two characters in particular. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought it was okay. There were some moments that were just a little bit too like action movie-ish for me, and I think that might be an artistic choice. I don't know if this is not really supposed to be taken as entirely as a dramatic film. It's supposed to be sort of like an action type of film as well. It's
it
got
is.
that popcorn quality to it.
It does. Yeah.
I do think a problem, and this is just kind of a nitpicky thing with me. I
Mhm.
don't like an abundance of CGI blood. It just doesn't look right to me.
And I can see that myself. I mean, there have been times when I think I would say the majority of the blood spatter, particularly in the opening sequence, looked very realistic.
Oh, I
But
disagree.
well, let me qualify.
Yeah, go ahead.
When Bihan or Sub-Zero runs through that one guard and he runs the blade up through the guy and it bleeds through onto the paper curtain. Now that looked real. In
Hmm.
terms of when Scorpion is going on when he's going on the attack and he's slamming the blade down into the tops of the guys' heads, that did look. I did catch the CGI there, but the issue is you can't really do a realistic shot of someone um, impaling or shoving a blade into the top of a person's head, and it not the person not potentially get harmed unless they have something that has a retractable blade, which they very well could have. But I think in that particular instance, suspension of disbelief in that instance, you're able to say, yes, I know that this that's most likely CGI blood, but I understand why it is CGI blood.
Well, I mean, tell that to Tarantino.
True.
Tell him to, yeah, or tell that to who's the monster zombie guy? What is his name? It's really
Oh,
famous.
Tom
Yeah,
Savini.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He could figure something out.
Yeah, he most likely could. I imagine Tarantino could. Well, and Tarantino has. But the thing I would say is the fact that Tarantino's violence is very stylized and is sometimes very much over the top. And in particular with Kill Bill. So, and in particular um, with Tom Savini. Obviously, you're dealing with zombies, and it's going to be a gore fest regardless. So for those particular genres and the directors that we're talking about, they're going to work with people that can figure out the how to carry off the stylized shots that they need or the stylized effects that they need. In terms of Mortal Kombat, I think they wanted to retain a sense of realism, even though this is a fantastical um, space that we are inhabiting. But when you're dealing with a human anatomy, um, you don't want to push the unrealism too far because
No,
it
I
can
see, I
take
see
your
what you're saying. Well, I see
sorry.
what you're saying. In
Mm-hmm.
in this instance, I mean, that's pretty much what it's all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
With a film like this, I don't know. I am a fan of practical effects. I mean,
Oh, I am too.
what I mentioned with the blood is even with a lesser kill in terms of presentation, it was
Mm-hmm.
still obvious to me that certain things were CGI blood. Like
Yeah,
even when he's throws the ties the little knife to a rope and he's swinging that around
yeah,
during that opening scene, slashing somebody's throat, and you have this big splatter of blood go everywhere on clearly behind them. So there were certain little things like that throughout the film, though. It's I just prefer a practical effect.
yeah, and that's perfectly fair. So, hey Tim, I just sent you the link. So if you want to come on in, bud, I sent it to your Instagram. So that's where the link is at, bud. If you want to join us. So.
And I wanted to mention something to you. Maybe you know the
Sure.
numbers on this.
Mhm.
How is the film doing? In terms of box office.
Uh, Let me look it up. Give me just a minute. I can tell you.
Okay.
And wait, I got a comment here. Ambassador Wayne Tim's asking if he can come on. Room for one more. John, if you want to join us, the link is in your chat room on Twitter. So if you want to join me and Zach and Tim and everything, um, pop on in here, bud. And as soon as I get back from looking up the numbers, um, I'll bring you in. Okay, give me just a minute.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, I wanted to mention I did a prediction that this film would do huge numbers overseas. It's very reminiscent to me in a couple of ways to the World of Warcraft film. Is I think which was hugely insanely popular in China
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
overseas. I think
Yeah.
we're going to see a similar thing here with a weaker performance in the U.S., but a massive behemoth performance in Asia.
Okay. According to Hollywood Reporter, and I would say they're a fairly reputable source, so far it has made 22.5 million. No, I don't know. Give me a minute. It's opening up. Here we go. Let's see. Making history, the Japanese anime Demon Slayer made nearly 20 million. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's just saying it's 22.5 million in
Total?
battle with. I'm guessing
Oh my
this
God.
was. Let's see. When was it? Doesn't fortunately. Oh wait a minute, no, it does. This is from 425, so like 3 days ago.
Ugh,
So it's done pretty
those are
good
bad
so far,
numbers.
considering it. Well,
I don't think
you got to
so.
take into account. Well, you got to take into account COVID because it's
Yeah,
not
no, I
open
know.
everywhere.
But I mean, this movie must have
So
cost a lot of money to produce.
I'm not sure how much it costs to produce. Give me a minute, I'll look it up. Yeah, 1 second. Okay. Oh wait a minute. Here we go. Okay, here we go. This is the worldwide.
Okay,
As of April 25th, worldwide total 51.1 million.
that's better. That's a lot better.
That was worldwide. I think I just was getting the domestics. Let's see. Yeah. As of April 25th, 2021, Mortal Kombat has grossed 23.3 million in the United States and Canada and 27.8 million in other territories for a worldwide of 51.5
That's not
million.
bad. That's not bad.
So,
It's on pace to do something pretty good. Because
yeah.
I mean, Godzilla did a tremendous box office.
Mhm.
I mean, just crazy. I think it. I can look that up. Let's see.
Yeah. And just real quick to the chat, Lasso of Truth, good to see you, and Wookie in Exile. Well, and Wookie, here's the thing. The reason this one gets more talk, it's called the internet. Back in 95, the internet wasn't really up and running as of yet. And yeah, money doesn't necessarily mean it's any good. As I've mentioned, the movie isn't horrible. There is a lot of good in it, but again, as I have mentioned before, everybody's going to have a different perspective on this film or on film in general. So just because I didn't, all parts of it weren't a hit for me doesn't mean it won't be for someone else. Like for you, for instance, Zach. And here is Tim. Hey, Tim, good to see you, bud. Been a little bit.
Hey, I know. How's it going?
Doing okay. How are you?
What's up,
Pretty
Tim?
good. Pretty
So,
good. Nice to meet you, Zach.
Yep, same here. So I wanted to mention the Godzilla and Kong box office, which is insane.
mhm.
It is at 400 million worldwide gross.
That doesn't surprise me.
So I'm kind of expecting this film to get a little, creep a little closer to that, like the Warcraft film did.
Um, I don't know what the numbers were on World of Warcraft, to be honest with you, but I can look it up. Give me a minute. Let's see. Well, Tim, let me ask you, what did you think of? Have you had a chance to see Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, I gave it about the same rating, about a 7.5 to like 7.3. I was going like back and forth, but I mean, I thought the action was done really well. I saw what
Yeah.
they were going for. I agreed with you on the Cole. Felt like he was out of place. I feel like they're trying to find like that balance of seriousness and like popcorn flick, because like the first one that came out in the 90s was pure popcorn flick. So they were kind of trying to see what Fast and Furious did, because Fast and Furious is obviously a popcorn flick, but then there's some like
it's a popcorn franchise.
Yeah. And I think with this is they almost were trying to take this too serious, like because of my biggest problem with this film or whatever was the score or sound. I felt like if the score was a little bit more upbeat, especially during the fighting scenes, it would have felt more like Mortal Kombat. Maybe a remix of the old Mortal Kombat, the upbeat vibe. Because I feel like some of the lines that were cheesy would have just like been more palatable, or just delivered better, or just felt like it was more organic than forced. Because they did those lines for like the fans that played the games and seen the original. So I appreciate that, but I just felt like they nerfed some characters like Liu Kang or whatever. I felt like he wasn't as strong as he usually was, but Kung Lao was awesome in the movie. His fatality with this hat thing, like a saw or whatever, a razor blade, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I liked it. It just I just felt like it was just kind of finding what it was, and it was just all one big setup for the second film. I mean, I'm going to see the second film for sure, but I just felt like they took too much time on developing, or just making this one setting up the next one, instead of like focusing on this film as a whole.
So
I didn't even know there was a second one.
Mortal Kombat?
Is there going to be a second one?
They're talking like 2 or 3 at least.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
cool.
They set it up with Johnny Cage, that poster towards the end.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I did want to bring up the numbers. World of Warcraft final box office worldwide, 439 million.
Yeah, it was a monster, but it got killed here.
Yeah, but it did well everywhere else. Now, honestly, it doesn't surprise me when you bring up the numbers on Godzilla versus Kong, because here's the thing: Godzilla is a worldwide known property. Practically everybody in the world knows who Godzilla is. So you've got name and brand recognition right there.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah, and that's the thing. Considering like your guys were talking World of Warcraft, it didn't do that well really in the States, but it made most of its money overseas in the Chinese market. So Godzilla vs. King Kong has been around for years, like when it was all black and white and stuff.
Right.
And I was introduced introduced to that as a kid, and I remember seeing it later. I was like, wait a second, those are guys literally dressed up in like costumes, like battling each other. So yeah, I've always been a fan of Godzilla vs. King Kong.
Well, I figured that this film would do similar in terms of a performance as to Warcraft. I think it's similar in a couple of ways, but I think that if it's going to make that kind of money, at least make its money back, it's going to do it in China.
Just depends on if they're able to edit out some of the stuff that the Chinese government's going to want them to take out and not hinder the film itself. Because, they have certain restrictions on certain material over there.
Okay. I hadn't considered that.
Yeah. I'll say I think if I was going to give an estimate on this as to how much it could potentially make, it could potentially make maybe 250 million, upwards of that. So I could be wrong, but I might even be lowballing it. But if it keeps pace where it's at, and it makes another 50 million the next couple of weeks, it's going to creep up right around the 200 million mark.
Yeah.
So,
another thing to consider.
Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to say a thing to consider is there ain't much coming out right now, so that might work in its favor. I know it's limited release, but what else are we watching?
Yeah, nothing really, nothing. The Father was good. That was good. There's like some smaller films, but luckily for them though, the budget on this was only 55 million, so they've already just about made their money back.
Yeah, just about. So it's definitely going to be profitable for them, even with marketing and everything. Okay, Simon McCoy. I feel like I've heard that name before somewhere, but I can't remember where. The director, Simon McCoy.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
I haven't heard of him either. The
name sounds familiar, so I'm going to look it up. Give me just a minute, guys. Talk about yourselves.
Sure. The movie The Father, when did that come out? Or
that was pretty recent. Yeah, that was kind of recent. Maybe a month or two ago. It was good. It was really good.
Who was in that one?
It's Anthony Hopkins and Olivia Colman.
Oh, he won an Oscar for that.
Yeah, I was psyched.
Yeah, I still got to watch that, and I got to watch the Chadwick movies on Netflix.
I got to see that one.
Yeah, I want to watch all of them. I haven't seen any of them.
That's on Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, what is it called?
Wow.
I don't know what it's called, but just type in Chadwick Boseman or Chadwick,
okay.
And then it'll pull up.
I got to watch that too.
Okay, this guy's only done, including Mortal Kombat 2 movies. The other one was called The Nighttime Economy. It was a short video. That's it.
I've never heard of that.
Did you guys say this?
But he's done a lot of
million?
55.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That's pretty damn cheap for a movie like this too.
That's really good.
Oh,
most of these big CGI films end up being cost like 200 million.
Yeah.
And I'm not much of a mod either. I'm more of a hammer. And to the chat, Superior Hero Reviews, Cody. Always a pleasure seeing you in the chat, man. Glad you're here, my friend. So, but the big question of the night, and this is going to be a very subjective question for everybody here, and everybody in the chat. This goes for you as well. Which one was better, Mortal Kombat 2021 or Mortal Kombat 95? So, here's John. Hang on. Oh,
I'd like to start if you don't mind.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah, you absolutely, Zach. Go right ahead.
Okay.
But the big question of the night.
What's up, John?
What's up, John?
How's it going?
All right, John. For just a minute, let Zach have the floor. Zach has the floor.
I like this one a lot better, guys. I like this new one way better. I mean, it's just in comparison, and this is just like I said, it's totally subjective. I assume at least somebody here is going to disagree with this, but I don't know. I mean, I always liked the video games. The second one, they did 2 Mortal Kombats, right? Before this.
Yes.
What was the second one
releases?
Called?
Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and it was horrible.
Ugh. Just put a bad taste in my mouth, even for the first one, and it was just too much. It was just too much for me. They had the costumes kind of look cheap in the original too, for me. For me, this is just a better one. It's more like sucks me into it more.
Okay. Fair enough. Tim, you want to go and give your
I can see what he says. This is more of like, if I had to compare the two, this would be more of like not more of like a Snyder cut version, or more of like a Christopher Nolan, because it was a little bit more gritty. The costumes look. I think the costumes do look better. Some of the costumes look better, like Scorpion, Sub-Zero's costumes look 100% times better. But I like Raiden's costume. His hat looked better in the original. I like the way he looked. Luke Kane's costume looked better. His costume in this one looked too much like Street Fighter, like Ryu. But no, like it's so hard because like the thing is the 95 one for that time or whatever in their respective eras, it's hard to compare because the world was such a different place in the 90s compared to what it is. Like if you're in the 90s, you might say that one's better, but if you're now, this one might seem better because the other one was just like fun popcorn. This one, they did a really good job making you care about Cole at the start, but then they didn't really have a payoff towards the end. They did a really good job with making Scorpion and Sub-Zero seem more of not villains of the week, actually give them some arc because, the rivalry is huge for them. It is huge for them. I've watched the games, the cinematic scenes, and I've seen the YouTube series stuff on there, and it's really interesting. So I don't know. I'll just say I think maybe I'll just give the hats off. I'll say this new one's a little bit better, but not much or whatever. But I think the other one's funner. The one from the 90s is funner.
Yeah. All right, John, your turn, bud. John, you're muted. You're muted.
I know I'm muted. That's what a face mask does to you. I'm a ninja. I'm not supposed to talk. Anyway, I've not seen the movie, but based on what I've seen on like the trailer and the early previews of the behind the back scenes, I have to say I'm a little disappointed by what you tell me that it's, the fighting isn't as good and that, because it really, from the trailers and all the behind the scenes, it looked like it was going to be fantastic. And Johnny Cage don't do CGI. No. John Cage doesn't do CGI. I prefer the realistic touch. And even if they didn't have to do all puppetry, but if they did some puppetry or some animatronics, just so it gave Go a little bit of feel, I would have enjoyed it a lot much more. It's the same with when they did the Lost World Jurassic Park. They did mostly CGI, and it wasn't as good as the original. But then when they came to the second Lost World movie, they started to bring in some more animatronics and stuff like that to make it more realistic. They did a real claw and all that. And that improved the dinosaurs so much better. It added more fear. And I think that's what was missing from this, just based on what I've seen anyway. That, and also I really do think the cast was a big problem for this. I didn't know any of these people, and they needed at least one high star to, bring in the people. Maybe they were worried that it would be another box office disaster, so they didn't want to spend a fortune on high cast. So maybe that's why. Again, I would have loved to have seen some cameos in this, but I understand maybe they wanted to distance themselves from the original and make their own unique thing, which, kudos to them. But for fans would have loved that shit. See, if they've seen someone from the original, people would be like, oh, that's him, he was in the original, and that would be fantastic. Just that few seconds would be great. And, I think it's another case of Transformers. It's all explosions, all action, all blood and gore, which is fantastic. That's what the original was missing. But they lack the story, they lack the writing, the dialogue, everything that makes a masterpiece.
Oh, that's funny. A little bit. You do look a tad like Kylo.
And a lot of people have told him that, so don't feel bad.
That's so funny. I didn't even notice that.
The first time I ever saw Tim on stream, I was like, holy crap, Adam Driver has a twin. Like, so, and well, to kind of round this out and everything. I will say that there are a lot of strengths. There is a lot of good in this version in the 2021 Mortal Kombat. In terms of Scorpion Sub-Zero's backstories, yes, that was a vast improvement rather than just making them the run-of-the-mill villains of the day. In terms of the costuming for all of the characters, yes, the costuming was much better, particularly for Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but for just the human characters. And I will say for the creature design, the creature design was good, particularly for Melina. She looked creepy all hell. So, in terms of Reptile, or what we would know as Reptile wasn't bad. Wasn't great, but wasn't bad. As I've already mentioned, Goro, I'm going to have to say it's not necessarily has to do anything with nostalgia, but maybe a little, maybe just a little nostalgia. The 95 Goro was much more intimidating, at least in my perspective. As far as the story goes, the only things in terms of the story that I didn't care for was, of course, as I mentioned, the whole Cole subplot with his family and him being connected to Scorpion. And I wish we had gotten a proper tournament. I did. I maybe I'm just old and I'm maybe just a little bit inflexible, but
you might get one next film.
Well, again, I don't know what they're going to do with the next film, if there is going to be a tournament, because as I mentioned, or maybe Zach, you weren't here when I said it. Remember what Shang Tsung says just before Raiden teleports him away. The next time I won't bring fighters. The next time I will bring armies. So essentially, he's saying we're going to invade you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, that's another problem. And look, it's one of those things where I had to turn my brain off to a certain extent. There's so many characters. There's so many different things going on.
That's true.
That could be another reason why it's not as good, as it kind of feels over the place. There's not one character to focus on. There's too many to take in, and most of the characters, you're not getting the full development that you need for some of them characters. I think the only one you really got developed was probably Sub-Zero and Scorpion, because they give you the whole backstory. That's how it opens up.
Yeah.
But other than that, the rest of them didn't get enough development, I thought.
The thing I will say, I know some people have mentioned this before, and I know Truth was in here a few minutes ago. Truth 31, Truth, if you're still here, man, good to see you this evening, and thank you, of course, for the support, man. It's always appreciated. And well, holy crap, here's a name I haven't seen in a long time. Polyhedral Paradise, Jason P. Press, and Jason. It has been a long time, but it is good to see you, bud. Appreciate you popping by this evening, and hope you've been doing well. And to quote a certain Lord of the Sith, I have been following your career with great interest. But getting back to my thoughts on which was better, 95 had the strength of keeping to the plot of the games, but elaborating upon it enough to make it into an entertaining movie. That, for me, was one of the really great things about Mortal Kombat 95. This one, they were trying to throw so many characters in that you didn't really get a good sense of who everybody was. You got snippets here and there, but you would have almost had to piece together who everybody was. Whereas you had quick and simple setups for all the main characters. You knew who they were, you knew their motivations, and you could follow along simply. The problem with Mortal Kombat 2021, even though as I said, I did enjoy it. As the old saying goes, you can enjoy bad movies. I did a whole stream talking about bad movies that we love. So, no, that was not a plug for the stream. Just mentioning it. There was just so much in here that you were trying to keep track of that it got a little bit burdensome.
Absolutely. So, that was one of the biggest hindrances. Like, it's hard to retain everything. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But it was good. That's why I compared it to an action film. Is I don't really think when I'm watching an action film. I try and enjoy it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kano had a pretty big. Go ahead.
No, Tim. By all means, please.
I just said Kano had a pretty big arc for being a villain. Like, I mean, he was always kind of a bad guy, but he showed some like redeemable qualities for a little bit. So, like, I felt like in a way he showed more arc than Cole. Like, because like Cole, they were making up this excuse that he was losing his battles for some reason or was far past his prime or something. But he didn't look very old, right? And then I thought later on he was going to have, he got his armor, Aquaman looking armor stuff, and but I still didn't really feel like they explained it more. Like, and so. What I'm trying to say, there was no payoff. They didn't have like a moment of him realizing why he was messing up or why he was getting beat. They were just like in the battle that he lost at the start. It was just like, oh, he should have done this, and then he kept using the excuse he's not what he used to be. So, I was just like, I would have liked to see towards the end him kind of coming into the legacy or whatever. But I don't know. That was just kind of something I wanted to see more of.
Yeah. It would be almost like if we were watching one of the Rocky movies, but we didn't know what exactly was Rocky's hang up with why he wasn't more successful. That's part of the problem with Cole here. We don't understand why he isn't successful. We're just told that he isn't successful. It goes back to the old story element thing. Show, don't tell. Or if you must, or if you can, show and tell. And to the chat, no obscene jokes, or I will boot you.
Well, do you think is that a purposeful choice? Because that is reminiscent of how a video game would give exposition.
Well, in the '95 game though, Liu Kang kind of had a little bit similar to that, and that's where I was trying to go with it. Liu Kang had like little struggles with his brother and his family, and coming into his potential. But then he did come into his potential. I feel like Cole didn't really come into his potential, especially being like a main character. Because like Liu Kang's always been kind of like a main character of Mortal Kombat. For him to be a side character in this felt like kind of awkward for me, or just kind of different, which is fine. I feel like, introducing new characters, new age, but it's like the Justice League. You got your core 7 members of the Justice League, and he's definitely one of the core members, along with Johnny Cage. So,
no, he's one of your top recognizable characters.
Oh yeah,
but there is a difference, though. I see the similarity, but the difference for me is that all those characters are iconic. Not all the Mortal Kombat characters are. So I definitely would, get confused and only recognize certain characters by what they were wearing. So I'm not as big of a fan as Ambassador, and I assume you, Tim. I was just a casual audience member. I love films. So that's why I wanted to see it, and I enjoyed it for as an action film, and
Yes.
it's definitely more gritty than the original one.
Oh yeah. Those fatalities were like when
Awesome.
he ripped his arms. I can't believe they did that. He just like ripped who was that? Jax's arms straight off like that. That was crazy.
I have to say I'm disappointed though. I hear there was no crotch shots. How can you have a Mortal Kombat without only a crotch shot?
There was one.
Was it?
I remember at least one. Yeah.
Was it? I was told that there wasn't going to be any in this
one
movie.
of the regular soldier guys.
Oh. So they wasted it on a regular soldier? Oh.
Like your opening action scene. There is one.
No.
I think you're right.
Yeah, he punches him. Yeah, no, I remember that.
Well, yeah. One of the things for me is, do I recognize that this is just a dumb action movie? Yeah, of course I do. I'm not blind to that fact, and that's what the original Mortal Kombat was. It was a dumb action movie based on a video game. And up until that point, video game movies were somewhat of a novelty. Now, we get them every once in a while, but here's the thing. This is just my perspective, and my perspective alone. If some of you share it, that's fine. Mortal Kombat 95, to my point of view, is the best video game movie ever done. Period. Just for the simple fact that you could go in, you enjoyed yourself, you could follow the story, the characters were likable, the characters were relatable, and you walked out, and even though it kind of ended on a cliffhanger, it worked.
Yeah.
Well, I would say this. There's some beautiful shots in the 95 version that are really well done in a cinematography sense, that are just like a beautiful, like old school shot. Like I remember the scene in the forest where there was no trees, right? Remember
it was
this?
Nothing but trees. Yeah. It was nothing but
But
trees.
I meant to say no leaves on those trees. It was just like a stick forest.
Yes.
The cinematography in that scene sticks out to me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie in years, but I still remember the cool shots of looking through those trees.
Yeah, they had some great sets back then.
Yeah, they did very good scout location for 95, most definitely. But the thing, and we all know the iconic fight that takes place in that forest is, of course, between Scorpion,
right,
and Johnny Cage, and of course they get teleported to Scorpion's nether realm.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. It's so memorable. Everyone remembers. Like you could name the characters, you could name scenes from that movie, but I bet you this is so all over the place that you probably couldn't name one memorable scene from it. Probably not. I mean,
I'll say this, John. In my opinion,
Yeah.
I love the action in this new one. I mean,
Oh
it was
no,
just
I bet the
crazy.
action is fantastic.
Just awesome. You know, that's the reason to see the film, is to see all these great fight scenes. And they're so quick too, and there's a lot of moves, and it's just really the action in this was just, I would say, exciting. Like it was just fun to watch.
it was. I will say that the fight between Jax and that one general guy that had the big stone hammer, that was a pretty good fight. I won't lie.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the fight between Liu Kang and Cabal at the end. That was a pretty good fight too, particularly when Liu Kang manifests that dragon made dragon made of fire. I love that visual effect. It was beautiful.
But I get what John is saying though. This one is definitely more of a mainstream film. There's just no question about it. The original clearly has a way lower budget. I mean, the CGI in the original does not stand the test of time, which is fine. You know, it's expected, but the original had that quality, especially, well, the original had that quality of interesting cinematography. You know, that's, I would say, the 95 original one. So discounting Annihilation, which I thought was a piece of trash.
It is.
And mainly because I couldn't even pay attention to the cinematography or anything else. There was just, due to all of the massive red flags of crappy dialogue, just laughable acting throughout Annihilation. And you had some stale performances in this one, you know, in my opinion. A lot of them carried themselves well, but there were some stale performances, I felt.
Yeah, and just real quick to the chat, Wookie in Exile. I have no idea what JLQ even is, and it's not that I'm ignoring your comments. I just didn't catch them right off the bat, and like I said, I don't know what JLQ is, and as far as any of the other comments you made, it's nothing personal. I have no idea what you're talking about. So, Wookie's up in here and be offensive. Wookie, you're fine, bud, truly, and everything. I was just kind of caught up in the conversation, and I had taken my off the chat for a minute, so please don't think I was ignoring you. I wasn't. I just didn't catch it right away. So, yeah, you know, I will say that the action was good, but I think the fight choreography could have been better amongst all the other fight scenes. Like I mentioned before, the fight scenes that involve specifically Scorpion and Sub-Zero, you had two veteran martial artists that really knew what they were doing. And they had good direction in terms of the fight that they were going through. So, but as far as the other fights go, the one between, like I said, Jackson, the general that had the big stone hammer, that was a pretty good one. They did the matchups right. They had Cabal against Liu Kang. I think they had Sonya versus Melina, and of course they had Goro versus Cole. Now, I do want to ask you all a question. Or, well, actually, first, Sonya had to go kill Kano, and then she got her mark. And then she got her ability. Let me ask you all this. What did you think of Sonya's Arcana, as they refer to it in the movie, her ability? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Was it accurate to the movie, to the game, or what? And Zach and Tim, this would be mainly for you because, John, you haven't seen the movie. So
that was kind of the whole birthmark thing was kind of I don't know what I make of that. It was kind of weird because that was never a thing. That was never a thing in the game or any of that. So I get it, they're trying something different, but it just like I don't know what I think of it, honestly. Zach, or you go ahead.
Yeah, man, I'm with you. I mean, it's not. I'm not a lore guy, so I don't look at this movie from that perspective. I liked everything about the film for the most part, except for an overabundance of CGI blood, which I just can't stand. I mean, I see it all the time in The Walking Dead and a bunch of stuff. I think it's tacky. Yeah, well, I have. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Zach.
Well, so I've explained my problems with the film, but like, see, that's kind of a nitpicky thing, right? You didn't like that element. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, me or Tim?
Yeah.
Oh, Tim. Go ahead, Tim.
I don't think I really liked it. I feel like I could have done without it. And yeah, I think they could have done without it. I didn't really like it. I feel like they were trying something different. I get it. But I feel like they should kind of steer away from it or not talk about it in the next movie. But maybe it should have been more. Yeah, maybe it should have been retcon, or maybe it should just be a Cole thing. Because what did Scorpion? The original Scorpion, or was his name Han, or I can't remember his name, but
Hanzo Hashi, I think it's how it's pronounced.
Okay, he didn't have one. So was it a Raiden thing that like?
Actually, he did.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yes.
So
the original Scorpion did have a mark. Now I don't remember seeing one on Sub-Zero or Bihan, but. When Hanzo is going to collect water, you can just barely make it out on his arm, on his forearm, I think it is. But he did have one, yes.
So was it like Raiden like messing with the gods that distilled it on other people to get the...
No, I don't think so. I think it was kind of randomized. I mean,
I just had to... Sorry.
No, go ahead, John.
I had no idea that she had powers, so I just had to Google to see what the hell her arcana was, because I was like, what? But it's quite clever because Kano's like a descendant of the Black Dragons, some more modern day Black Dragons. And in that TV show that I was telling you about, Conquest, they have a tattoo which gives powers. So the fact that, you know, she got that same tattoo and it gave her powers goes quite nicely with the lore from the Black Dragon history. So it's quite clever because originally I always thought Sonya Blade, she just had, you know, the armory, you know, the weapons and the gadgets, you know, she was a soldier and all that. But it's quite clever to the lore and it fits quite nicely. Now, a lot of people will probably be like, what the hell is this? Because not a lot of people like Zach will know the lore behind the tattoo and where it comes from, or even the name of, you know, where it comes from, the Black Dragon Gang. But I thought it was very interesting. Just reading, I haven't seen the movie, as you say, but just that alone makes me curious about what else they will bring in sequel movies and other movies. If they should continue it on as a franchise, because there's so many other characters that they can bring in and so many other lores. Like what I would have loved to have seen is Govo against Liu Kang, because in the original Govo kills Liu Kang in the original Mortal Kombat tournament, and that would have been iconic to see. But maybe they'll do that somewhere down the line. But it's quite an interesting thing because there's a lot of different members and gangs and stuff like that, like the Ling Hui, the ninja assassins, who then become like you've got Smoke, you've got Sabat, you've got a whole bunch of others, and then you've got your mecha ninjas. So so it makes it really interesting to see what else you can be brought in. But I think where they went wrong is they put too many characters all at once. You see, if they only like had half of the amount of characters they had and just had it as a basic introduction, and then made the next one maybe the Mortal Kombat, I think it would have done a lot better. I think this was too over the place, but it sounds good just based on the action. I think it'll be a good movie.
I mean, if as Zach said, if you want to just shut your brain off and just enjoy this, it is definitely that type of movie that you can, and what have you. So, and I did for the most part. That's how I went into the movie looking to watch it, but I also wanted to try and do a little more critique than I normally would. Particularly, like I had said before, I have a base of reference from a previous movie in the franchise that I know very well. And in this case, I know the original Mortal Kombat very, very well. because I've seen it numerous times. I've watched all the making behind. I've done the research and so on. So I know this movie, and I can bring a little bit more of a perspective comparing this newer version to the older one, and ask the question, which is better? And the truth is, the definitive answer is going to vary from person to person or from group to group. One group or one person may say 95 is better than 2021. Some people may say, well, there's stuff in 2021 that was better than 95 or vice versa. But it's a good question to ask. Which one of these do you feel is better? And I say they both have good strengths. I say the newer one does have some deficiencies. But if you're looking for just a good popcorn action adventure movie, Mortal Kombat 2021 will definitely do that for you with no problems whatsoever. But yeah, there was one other small topic I wanted to bring up and everything, because probably gonna wrap up here in a little bit. And that is the whole issue of HBOMax itself. And I don't know if all of you have been aware of the big blow up that happened yesterday evening with HBOMax and that tweet that came out and the whole issue of the Snyderverse and so on. Okay. But I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on this, but I do want to just take a few minutes. And if y'all are interested in that conversation, we can all by all means have it, or I can just give my thoughts and then we'll wrap up.
I have no idea.
Okay.
We don't have HBO Max in the UK, so that's
yeah. And that's fine, John.
Essentially, go, it's your channel.
Essentially, people say smoking pot dulls the mind. Oh, Wookie, you're a mess. Oh, goodness. Here's what I think. And to I imagine most everybody in the chat, except for maybe John, is aware of the situation that happened with that tweet that was sent out through Twitter that caused the part of the Snyderverse movement to kind of go into meltdown. And there has been this thing trending talking about cancel HBO Max. Mm-hmm. As far as it goes to my position on the whole restore the Snyderverse, I came into the whole release the Snyder Cut movement. I came in late. I admit that fully. But I put my full support behind it because I believe that Zack Snyder deserved to have his original movie be made public. And not just for himself, but also in memory of his late daughter. That has been achieved. It has been done, and to one degree or another, it has been a success. As far as Restore the Snyderverse goes, and I say this with all due respect to anyone that's listening now that is a part of that movement or will listen to this later in the replay, I'm out. I was here to help support release the Snyder Cut. That has been done. As far as Restore the Snyderverse, that's a completely different animal and a completely different fight all in itself. And the one thing that makes me very sad is what I saw last night on as far as the reaction goes. That's what made me sad. Mm-hmm. Because this is a fight that shouldn't be splitting people. But honestly, here's the thing, and I've said this on other streams, and I will say this here, and this is going to honestly be my final word on it. It is most likely that the Snyderverse is not going to continue for one reason or another. And yes, that does stink. But I would rather spend my time focusing on things that are confirmed rather than focusing on things that, by all likelihood, are not going to come. Now, if I am wrong, I will be the first to say that I was wrong. And that if it is announced that they are going to continue the Snyderverse, I will be the first to say I was incorrect. But I'm not going to beat my head against a brick wall trying to get the attention of a corporation. That's just, in my perspective alone, silly. To the people that I've made friends within the movement, I am still your friend if you wish to still continue that association. If you decide that my position on this fact is too much of a departure and you wish to no longer associate with me, that is your right, and there is no hard feelings. But that being said, I am not going to cancel my HBOMax. That's my choice. There's a lot of other content on there that I enjoy, and I may not agree with everything that the company has done, but they have done a lot more, in my perspective, that is good than what is wrong. So, that being said, I yield the floor. Zach, Tim, if you have anything you want to say in terms of that whole kerfuffle, the floor is yours.
I'm all out of the loop. I just want to say that.
Just to clarify, Ambassador, was a tweet saying they're just not gonna.
Essentially, the tweet was extremely short. Essentially, it was put out by a very small correspondent for something called The Decider. He listed the numbers for how much money or how many views that Wonder Woman 1984 had made, Godzilla vs. Kong, and for Mortal Kombat. And he had put at the end, for everyone that were to get the Snyder Cut released, sorry, bros, it didn't go better.
Well, that's not his fault. Wonder Woman was a fucking nightmare, disaster, piece of shit, ungodly dumpster fire of a film. It was just almost I almost couldn't believe what I was saying. I mean, there's so many. It was honestly one of the worst films of all time by a commercial studio like that. It was sickeningly bad. Everything about it. That has nothing to do with Zack Snyder. So I don't think they can pin that on him. That was who's the woman who directed that?
Patty Jenkins.
That's on her, and she's a tremendous director. I like her war film she did. I forget the name of it. She did like an Iraq film or something. She's a good director, and I like the first one.
I like the first one, but
she's
writing to someone else.
She's good, but you can't blame that on him. But I'll just make this real quick. My thoughts and opinions on this. I think it's a great thing. I think Zack Snyder should hang up the cowl. I really liked the Justice League film. Loved it. But that's the only one he's done so far that I've enjoyed. Hated Batman v Superman. Hated the Superman movie.
Man of Steel.
I hated it. Which other ones has he done? Is that the only two before this?
Yes.
I hated both of them.
And that's fair. And just real quick, Wookiee in Exile, you have a good night. And as always, pleasure having you in the chat. We'll talk to you later.
I kind of feel sorry for him because they had a lot of other factors that were going against them, like the whole Justice for Johnny. And I know there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, you're having her still in it, so I refuse to watch anything that she has her in it." If you know who I'm talking about, you know the whole Johnny versus.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I follow you. Yeah, I follow you, John.
So that might have played an impact as well. There was some people saying, boycott the Snyder Cut, and I feel sorry for him because it's not his fault. They had to, she had to be in it either way because she's in Aquaman, which comes after Justice League. So just for continuity, it had to be. But and also, it might have been his daughter's wish. Maybe she liked that character. Maybe she wanted to see more of her, Eva. So, so that's also a possibility. I mean, it's understandable that his daughter would like that character. She's a strong, kick-ass woman. She's a great character. It's just a shame who plays her.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of that, and also, like you say, there's been other stuff on HBOMax to do with Johnny Depp. The whole firing of Johnny Depp from Fantastic Beasts, and it's just been one thing after another, unfortunately, and also the whole fact that HBOMax isn't available outside America, so you have to take into account what about the viewings that were of the film that were not on the HBO platform.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I don't agree with the story that it was a failure. In fact, I think it was a success.
And most likely, the thing is, it was most likely a success, but they have pretty much done nothing but radio silence on the whole Justice League movie. I mean,
What I don't like about stories from platforms like The Decider is they were always against the Snyder Cut. They said, "Oh, it's never going to happen. It's a pipe dream. You fans don't deserve it. You're toxic, and all that other kind of crap, which I won't get into." But the point is, they were always against it because it was giving the fans what they wanted, whereas they think they should have the control. And it's a bit of both, but you have to remember that we are the customers. You have to respect your customers, and you can't be calling them names and disrespecting them. And if we have some good ideas, then you have to admit that we have some good ideas. Just because we are not behind the camera doesn't mean we don't deserve to be listened to. These outlets say, it was a disaster, it's not going to happen, because they said the exact same thing about the Snyder Cut in the first place, that it wasn't going to happen.
Yes,
so who knows down the line? Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but maybe sometime down the line it might happen.
Yeah.
It all depends, if they need the bucks, if they need to get the fans back,
Well, the other thing, and this is the one factor that I've kind of focused in on, and I don't think it's necessarily an unfair factor. If you consider the hell that he has got to go through just to get the 3 movies that he has done in terms of the DC universe done with Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman, and now Justice League, does he really want to go back to Warner Brothers and fight again to try and get the last 2 movies done?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know how you all feel about Zack Snyder. Personally, I have nothing but respect for the guy. He has every movie I've seen that he has done, I have thoroughly enjoyed. And Zach, I respect your opinion. You didn't like Man of Steel. You didn't like BVS. Fair enough. I loved it.
I didn't get to finish my opinion.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
But that's okay.
No, go ahead, please.
I'll just wrap it up real super quick for you.
Sure.
I think that, in my view, I am a huge Batman guy. I'm a huge DC guy. I have an admiration for it. I have a connection to it. For me, so many things Snyder did was wrong. I felt he got most of your main characters wrong. The tone was incorrect. The casting was incorrect in many cases. Just take a look at the Joker, and Lex Luthor the Joker was a joke in the worst way possible. And so was Luthor. There were so many mistakes made that, as much as I like the Justice League, the overall Snyderverse, if you want to call it that, is a complete disaster that is not tonally congruent, that there's so many potholes in that I applaud him for the Snyder Cut, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I'll go back and enjoy it probably in the future. But I hope he quits, because I feel like there are many people more qualified who could do a better job. The Nolan version is one of my favorite versions. I prefer the Tim Burton version the gothic feel to Gotham over what Snyder has done. So I'll leave it with that.
No, and hey, I'm not going to say this is a safe space, but because I don't really particularly care for that phrase, but no, you have your perspective, and it's a fair perspective. I'm not going to say it's invalid. Personally, I liked his adaptations. I thought they were pretty good, and so on. And I did, like I said, I enjoyed Man of Steel. I enjoyed BVS, particularly BVS: The Ultimate Edition. I thought the film was good. I've watched it twice, and so on. And I did enjoy Justice League. So, but the big thing for me is Zack Snyder has a talent for making what I feel are good movies. And if you disagree, that's fair. It's just my perspective, and it's my perspective.
Let me hit you with this real quick. Have you seen the Dark Knight Returns animated films?
I have, and I love it.
I love it too. That shit is some of the best storytelling I've ever seen. It is just phenomenal. Beautiful.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree.
When I look at that, and I look at Batman v Superman, I can't help but be vastly disappointed.
And again, that is fair. I think one of the big problems was DC was trying to catch up to Marvel instead of going at their own pace and doing their own thing, and they threw too much. And I think Snyder did the best he could to try and balance everything out that Warner Brothers wanted in that film and try and still tell a cohesive story. I think if you had removed Doomsday, if you had removed the whole
Jesse
Kryptonian,
Eisenberg,
yeah, you could, and kept it and come up with some other sort of catalyst for the conflict between Clark and Bruce, then yeah, it could have potentially been better. But looking at it from the perspective of someone that's seen it twice and appreciating what Zach was trying to do there, I do enjoy the movie. And it's something I will watch again. But and again, as I always say whenever we're discussing film, the perspectives of everyone is going to be different on a film. There's never going to be, except for maybe in a handful of cases, there's never going to be a unilateral or a complete consensus on a perspective on a film, on any piece of art. So you hated BVS, you hated Man of Steel, but you liked Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
I liked all three. Yeah, I liked all three. I'm sure Tim and John, if I give them a chance to speak, and I will here in a minute, they'll give their own perspective. And with that, I'm going to let them give theirs.
I'll let Tim go first. He's no spoke much.
All right. Yeah, so, I just see it as like a win-win situation. If they don't continue on, most likely not, but I would like them, because the thing is, they're already kind of doing like the multiverse thing, or like the Robert Pattinson Batman has taken place in its own little Earth. So we could still have this for 2 or 3 films, but they could still build this other universe around. And then after those are done, they're just done. But I mean, they leave it, out at a huge cliffhanger, the way they built it up to give it to us. I mean, me being an entitled fan here, right? But I'm happy either way. I'm happy that we got it. It's a win. If they move on with something else, that's great. The thing is, what my big problem with this stuff is that, like, they keep saying they want to update these characters and stuff like that, and like the old character style's not wanting to work. But wasn't this like a more updated version of Superman and all that? Like Michael B. Jordan, they're talking about doing Black Superman, and with J.J. Abrams. I know it's rumors at this point. In 2017, they mentioned, and they talked about more recently, but it's not been confirmed yet. But the thing is, what they mentioned is he's like, well, we want to see a more updated version of Superman. I was like, what do you mean by that? Because Man of Steel was more so an updated version, and he definitely wasn't a Christopher Reeves Superman.
No,
This Christopher Nolan verse was definitely updated take on Batman, and even more so, more practical, grounded take on Batman, and then Ben Affleck was more of like a more updated take. Right? They're not wearing the spandex type. It's not as like lighthearted, really. Marvel's been more so of that. The tone was never the issue. It's the writing. Like he was mentioning I forgot what was his name? I can't see his
above
name.
You, Zach.
Yeah, Zach. Sorry. He had a good point about like the animated series. I have seen the animated series, and I thought it was phenomenal.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was awesome.
It was never the tone that was the issue. They just executed it right, and like Marvel's been trying to play this. Well, DC's been trying to play the catch-up game, and that's what I feel like shortchanged some of the writing. Not necessarily Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and all that. Like the extended cut for Batman and Superman, I thought was more cohesive and not as blocky, and it flowed a lot more well. I'm not. Did you see, Zach? Did you see the extended cut for Batman versus Superman?
Or why would I want to do it though? It was just such a terrible film. I hated it, and I just didn't like it.
Gotcha. Yeah, like I had a sour taste in my mouth because I saw it with my old boss, and he's one of the hardcore comic book fans, and he has like boxes and boxes in his basement, like just all over. Like he's like a purist when it comes to comics. He doesn't like really like anything change, which I can understand. Like when they came out with Dragon Ball Evolution, and I'm a massive Dragon Ball Z fan. I was like, this is a mockery to Dragon Ball Z. What are they doing? So yeah, I can understand that. But when I gave Batman vs Superman the extended cut a chance. I was like, well, we'll see what they're doing, and it just felt a lot better. Was it amazing? No, but I thought it did itself more so justice, and I could see the vision. And then when I found out more so what was going on behind the scenes, like later revealed that the studio heads were kind of sticking their fingers into Zach's eggs and scrambling them when he wanted sunny side up or something, right? But I don't know. I just take the whole situation as a win. I'm happy either way. I look forward to seeing what they're going to do. If they're going to move on forward, I feel like universally, since Man of Steel was more divisive, and everything's been divisive, even though people like the Zack Snyder verse or this latest Justice League movie, I feel like they should go more of a little bit of lighter tone or a little bit more universal feel to it. But I do like Zack Snyder's verse.
And just real quick, Justice for Depp. Justice, I think this is the first time I've seen you in my chat. So welcome to the channel. Good evening, and thanks for tuning in. So appreciate it. Yeah, and John, I'll let you give your thoughts, and then we're probably gonna wrap up here in just a minute. So
yeah, so me personally, I'm a big fan of Zach. I've loved him since his early stuff from 300, Watchmen. Wasn't the best film, but I thought it was much better than the TV show that was done on, I believe, HBOMax. So yeah, he did a much better job, I thought. Sucker Punch, again, not the best film, but at least not with the critics, but I enjoyed it. Man of Steel, I was about. Batman v Superman, again, the theatrical cut was garbage. I agree with Zach on that one. The extended edition was much better, so I do suggest Zach checks it out and to at least see the differences, because it fills so many plot holes, and which is why.
Well, can I say this?
Yeah.
I'm not going to see it because to me it's fundamentally flawed. In the same way The Last Jedi is, to me it's just not correct.
Yeah.
But go ahead. That's just me.
Yeah.
So I will never see the extended cut. I'll never see the film again.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his work. Is he the best? No, I still don't think he's got Superman right. Even in the Justice League movie, I'm still not getting the same kind of hope and light and truth, justice, American way that we got like with other versions, like Superman Returns or the Christopher Reeves. I prefer those two over the Snyder versions. But I thought what we got was good. I thought everything else was fantastic and a much improvement over the rubbish that we got with the original. You know, the Whedon Snyder cut, whatever you want to call it.
The Justice League.
Yeah,
as a lot of people call it, the Justice League. So,
but having said that, I don't think it's a total. There is one or two moments from the Justice League which I wish were put into this movie, where I thought Josh's interpretation, like the whole, I know it's cheesy, but see when he says, "I believe in truth and I'm also a fan of justice." I know it's cheesy, but that just took me right back to the whole Christopher Reeves kind of Superman days. And that really got me. I thought the Snyder cut was too dark, too violent, like the not impressed, and then he starts beating him up and lasering his arms off. Yeah, if you like that, but it's just Superman always held back, and it's clear that Superman was way outpowering, Steppenwolf. So it's very unlikely in any other case that he would go down as heavy as that, unless it was against someone that's his equal or more powerful than him, like Zod or Darkseid. Steppenwolf is powerful, but I don't think he would ever mutilate a guy, I can't see him lasering off somebody's arm or lasering off somebody's horn or anything like that. That's just not Superman. Batman, maybe, but not Superman. But having said that, I think as a franchise, I think he's got the best idea when it comes to continuity. His movies, they flow together. He's got a clear image of what he wants for the future and what he has, whereas all the other movies, they don't seem to connect in any way. They seem to be all separate, which is why I think Zack should be like a Kevin Feige for the DCU, kind of almost like, where he decides, this is what movie should come first, then this movie, then this, this is what should do this doesn't fit with that. There needs to be someone like, and I think Zack is the man. He may not be the best director, and he may not have the best ideas, like when it comes to writing or characters, but I think that as a whole, as a mastermind, I think he's got quite a lot, Personally, I would be disappointed if we didn't get more the Snyderverse. It's clear the fans love it, and I think HBO are foolish to say no to it. Only they will know if it's really a success or not. I believe it was a success just because everyone was talking about it. Everyone wanted to see it. It's not our fault that HBO isn't available internationally. That's on them. They should have put it out internationally like Netflix or Disney Plus, and then, bring out a big movie like the just Snyder Cut. So that's on them. That's not Snyder's fault. Nor is any of the other controversies that are to do with the movie or before the movie, like Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
but
true.
I personally would love to see more. The only thing that had me a little hesitant is the ending. His choice to put Amber in but I think that was a bit controversial. I didn't like that. Unless the next scene is going to be Superman knocking her out and killing her or lasering her head off, then it might be okay. But I thought it was a kind of a big FU to some of the Justice League Johnny Depp fans. At least that's how many of them have seen it and took it, which is a bit sad because, really this movie is supposed to bring people together, and yet you have this one person that's dividing us all, and that makes me sad.
Dividing your group of people.
Yeah,
the mainstream audiences don't even know who the fuck she is.
Oh, you're talking about Ann Sarnoff?
Well, saying heard. Have you heard about this, Amber?
Oh, Amber Heard. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
have you not heard about the third? Third is the word?
Yes, John. No? Yes, John. And I just want to say to Justice for Depp, Justice, thank you for subscribing, and I hope you enjoy your time here. And I appreciate the support. It's crazy. I hit 400. I think it was back last. Well, yeah, it was back last week.
You seem to just.
And
it seems like you were so far away from it, and then you mentioned we're going to have a watch party once we get to 400, and then everyone's bloody subscribes. It's like,
well, the other thing is, I was on a stream the other night and everything with a group of guys that are all hardcore Star Wars fans, and I didn't go on there trying to fish for subs, but they were like, "Hey, we like you. You have good ideas." We spent like 2.5 hours talking Star Wars, talking about my fan fiction and everything. And Zach, we're not going to get sidetracked on that like we did the other night.
No, I enjoyed it.
I know you did. I know. But I'm now seeing at 408. So Justice for Depp and everybody else, my recent subscribers, thank you. And to kind of segue, I want to let you all know tomorrow night I will be going live again, also at 7 o'clock. And we'll be doing a watch party over on my Twitch channel and Facebook because, YouTube. Well, YouTube's kind of a butt when it comes to watch parties. So we're going to go around them. And we're going to be doing a watch party of a favorite movie of mine. It's an 80s film. It is kind of cheesy in terms of the graphics and everything, but it is a favorite, and it's going to be for The Last Starfighter. And if anybody wants to stick around afterwards, we're going to do a little karaoke after party. So, because it's been a little while since I've done a karaoke party of any kind. So, whether you're a good singer or a bad singer, you just want to come in and watch us all make idiots out of ourselves. I've got several people that have said they want to be a part, but if anyone else wants to be on the panel or anything, what I am going to do is I'm going to rent the movie through YouTube, and I'll just stream it on Twitch and on Facebook and everything, because those are the two places where you can stream and show a movie and you won't get taken down for it. So you don't have to have a copy or anything else. Just get you some popcorn, get you a Coke or whatever type of beverage you want, and come on over as we celebrate MJ1, and you call yourself a geek? No. Okay.
You're missing out, man. Where you been?
How could you rent the thing anyway without a credit card?
I have a gasoline card.
You can start by wiping that fucking dumbass smile.
I've been wearing the same underwear since Tuesday.
MJ1 Media, I'm sending you an invite, and you are coming.
Come here, young man.
Are coming.
Come here. Bad boy, how dare you not watch the movie?
And Aaron Entertainment, it just depends on what time y'all are streaming, because my work schedule is going to be changing starting next week. I actually start a new job next week, so and I don't want to drag this out and everything, but I will be letting you all know what the new streaming schedule will be for me going forward starting next week. But I just want to wrap up by saying to everybody that tuned in tonight, and there was a lot of people that tuned in tonight, and I appreciate everybody that was here, and I hope you all enjoyed the discussion. I also want to thank my impromptu panel, Mr. Zach Leary, Big Daddy O, John Bamford, the Scottish Ninja, and Tim Possible. Gentlemen.
Can I give a plug?
No. Yes.
So I just want to mention, me and John are having a drink up, because he is a Scot, I'm an Irishman, so we are going to have a drink off probably next month.
Nice.
Lift your bitch. Test your might.
This guy right here. He's on him. My money's on Zach. He looks like he can hold his liquor. Unlike John down here. And Tim's just sitting there thinking, what the hell did I think asking to come on this dream tonight?
I'll watch them do the drink off. What are you guys doing? Live stream? And you're going to like...
Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
and I've already told our moderator, if we get too crazy, you got to just pull us off. You know, I don't want to be belligerent on stream, you know.
If I'm too crazy,
So I have a feeling John is going to be
sunglasses and a mask. So what's too crazy?
John is going to be a hard guy to put down, you know. So I don't want to get. We don't want to get too fucked up on stream.
And MJ1 Media, I do understand work does take precedence, so it's okay. And Justice for Depp says, I can't wait for that. I don't know which is referring to, the drink off or the watch party. So whichever you're looking forward to, Justice for Depp, cool. So
I think we mentioned it first on her stream.
Yes.
Oh, did.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, well, anyway. But yeah.
Big shout out to JFD. Everyone go check out her channel. She does great watch parties and great movie reviews as well. I too dress up on those. So yeah, it's always crazy.
Anyway. Tim, John, Zach, is there anything aside from Tim and John, anything on your channels coming up that you want to promote before we go? And Tim, same for you.
Oh, not a lot. So I do have a brand new hit record called Danny Boy.
Oh dear Lord!
A nice wee tribute to Dan Wooten. Everyone seemed to like that. I was on Tammy Talks About stream. It was for charity. I'll post a link below. I would love if you could contribute. The charity is called Art of Elysium. I will also plug it on my not just on my channel but on my Twitter at BigDaddy29. So check me out there. And the charity, it's a great charity. It's the Art of Elysium. They help kids, they help elderly people who are by themselves, they help kids with disabilities to be creative and, help with depression and other illnesses and stuff like that. You know, it's just about helping them, give them an outlet, helping them to, be happy and give a way to channel their creative side and to help them get their emotions out and deal with their problems in a healthy way. So if you could donate anything, even a dollar, even a pound, anything, whatever, $5 would be fantastic. But every little helps, honestly. So yeah, check out Tammy Talks About and Sandy Brown, where we will be doing the drink off. And look out for my Danny Boy song.
Yeah, just follow me at Kylo_Tim1 on Instagram and Twitter. Check out my TikTok. It's starting to grow. Tim Possible Official. I do a bunch of different skits on there. And I'm ordering some stuff. My first ever lightsaber. I think I'm going to do a unboxing video and more like a Kylo Ren lightsaber. I might order like a double lightsaber too. And then it's kind of big on TikTok with like doing moves because I train in martial arts and I can do stuff with the Kali sticks and Eskimo and a bow staff. So I think that can translate well. And then I think I'm going to bring back my show on Friday. It's called the Friday Movie Bash. I don't have anything uploaded right now. I just reset my channel and kind of took a break from everything. But I'm coming back and I'm going to be doing a lot more gaming. And it's good to be back. And thank you for having me on, Ambassador. Nice to meet you, Zach. And nice to see you again, Scottish Ninja John.
Just call him John.
Just call him John. John's fine with me.
So,
unless you want to call me Daddy, that's fine too.
Oh Lord! I think I'm gonna wrap this up before it gets weirder. Well, anyways, folks, thank you all again for tuning in tonight. And for those of you that caught this live, hope you all enjoyed it. For those of you that catch the replay, of course, make sure you leave your comments down below. And you can share your thoughts about Mortal Kombat and anything else we discussed this evening. And, of course, to all my new subscribers, thank you for becoming a part of the Ambassadorial Wing. And I will do my very best to make your time informative and fun and worthwhile. So, that being said, folks, wherever you're at, you have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow night. And until next time, these are the Ambassadors. Signing off.